Hi, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Hey, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Hi, Craig.
Hello, and welcome back to the Paddock. We are the Paddock Girls, and on today's episode, we have Rachel, Drea, Amy, Ito, Leanne, and myself, Hannah. We will be talking about all things Miami GP, and on today's episode, we are going to be talking the track and give you our predictions. And at the end of the episode, we will do a small little surprise. So don't leave too soon. Let's start off with some track talk and pass it on to our lovely Rachel.
Thank you, Hannah. All right, so the Miami circuit is a street style circuit with the Hard Rock Stadium at the epicenter of the track. And this year, the Hard Rock Stadium is actually going to have the paddock located inside the stadium, and fans with general admission campus passes will be able to visit the stadium's 300 level and look down on the paddock and get a glimpse of its inner workings over the course of the whole weekend. So that's pretty cool. A proposal for the Miami Grand Prix was made and submitted to the city in 2018, with 2019 slated as the original first year for the race. And Port Miami is the location, but due to complications that arose with Port Miami's construction and development plans, a new proposal was submitted for a 2021 race near the Hard Rock Stadium. And while Miami did not make it onto the 2021 calendar, the track was able to be completed in time for an inaugural race on May 8th of 2022. And this year, the circuit has been repaved, and they did some minor revisions to some of the runoff areas, and a few other improvements are planned and in progress. The race will be 57 laps over 5.41 kilometer track, which is about 3.36 miles, with 19 corners, 3 straights, and 3 DRS zones, and top speed of 320 kilometers per hour, which is about 200 miles per hour. And if you're like me and didn't know what DRS stood for, it stands for Drag Reduction System, and it is a driver-controlled device that opens a flap in the middle of the rear wing of the car, reducing the wing's surface area, resulting in a decrease in the aerodynamic drag of the car and thus increasing the straight line speed of the car. And it can only be used when the driver is within 1 second of the car ahead of them, even if the car is being lapped. At least that's what DRS is, allegedly. I still think it stands for Danny Rick supremacy, but we'll explore that in a future episode.
That is actually hilarious, and I stand for the Danny Rick supremacy, full on. One thing to also know is a lot of people know that 2022 Miami GP, the first one, was actually a complete disaster as far as just some of the space restraints. So they actually expanded for the upcoming 2023 Grand Prix, and instead of the rather cramped area tucked behind the pit garages, the team's hospitality buildings will now be housed in the Hard Rock Stadium. So that will be nice. New and enhanced hospitality experiences and the creation of the F1 Team Village directly on the football field and increased capacities, which should be expecting the second race to be even bigger and better for the fans, the teams, drivers, and partners. I don't know about y'all, but I wish I was there this weekend because it seems like it would be absolutely amazing. Now on to Drea to talk about the first Miami GP and some iconic things that came out of it.
Yes, the first Miami GP was chaotic. I don't know. I think it was what happened that we were trying to get it on the water, and some people complained and they couldn't actually get the construction done because they realized they would have to shut down that whole bridge. And so we had a fake marina at the new one. And not only was that fake, a lot of other things happened that we had to change.
Yeah, and I don't know if you remember the viral meme that went out last year of Craig Slater jumping into the marina, the fake water, and not realize that it wasn't real water at the time. Now that it actually has water, I wonder if we may see when you win the pole or when you win some jumps into it. I don't know about y'all, but I just remember Danny at Monaco in 2018, 2019, jumping in when he got his podium. Still lives rent free in my head.
And I mean, they oftentimes also do it at the end of the season, that they throw team members into So maybe it will happen. Who knows?
If so, it'll be some iconic pictures just like those have popped up and used in memes through the years. So last year, Charles and Carlos were on the starting line in a Ferrari lockout, and Max was in third because it was still in the time where Max and Charles were fighting for world championship. It was wild. Okay. Literally after the first lap, Max overtook Carlos. Carlos had a bad launch off the start line, and Max overtook him pretty quickly within that second corner. It took him about 8 more laps before he could overtake Charles on a pit straight with DRS. It was pretty wild, but that just proves Max cannot be stopped even if you get him in third behind the Ferrari. Some more interesting things happened after that. There were a lot of DNFs. So the DNFs this race were wild, which is to be expected since it is the first time they're seeing this track ever. Pierre, Lando, Kevin, and Joe DNF. Joe DNF'd within the first 20 laps because he had some kind of technical issue that he had to retire the car, and Alfa Romeo just called him in. The next set of people who retired, though, were Lando and Pierre. Lando retired on lap 41 because as they were going around a corner, Pierre took it too wide and he clipped Lando, not seeing him coming up behind him. So Lando's tire went flying. His car could not make it back to the pits. They had to stop and do a safety car so that they could get it off the track and clear it. Pierre did have damage, but the team didn't really realize that it was damaged and he couldn't continue until lap 47 because of the safety car. They were going slow and, making sure everyone's safe on track. So he did retire 6 laps later. The next set of people to retire were Mick and Seb hit. Like Mick came wide and just crashed into Seb, and it was kind of sad because Seb spun, and it was his last race, so it's casual. That was his last race there in a new place, but he did feel bad about it, and he kind of asked who it was, and they didn't tell him really who it was at first. And so Seb was then taken out of the race at lap 55. K-Mag had a collision with Stroll, and they didn't really cover it while we were watching F1 TV. So I'm not sure what lap essentially he got out, but it was before the end of the race. And Crofty at the end of it, and whenever we realized how many DNFs there were just from them crashing into each other and not knowing the track, is in order to finish first you have to finish the race. Like, just get across the finish. Other iconic things that happened though after the race was on the way to the cooldown room, Max gets a police escort. Like, he gets on his golf cart, the police are escorting him on their motorcycles underneath the stadium, through all that stuff. And as you see them go by, you see Christian Horner and Ginger Spice running to keep up to get to where the podium is also. And it's just funny watching them try to outrun this golf cart, and they're not making it. And it's all on camera. And the video for it is iconic. If you guys haven't seen it, you should look it up. Another part was in the cooldown room. Carlos took off his shirt because Miami is hot. If you've never been to Miami, if you've never been to the South, it is extremely, extremely humid. Like, you are sweating, and it could a cool 75. You're sweating all the time. These boys going around the world and mostly being from Europe don't know about that life. And so Carlos took off his shirt, and that whole time they're trying to tell him, like, hey, like, we can't like film you, so please just put on a shirt. And our sassy Latino just says, then don't film me. Like, it's fine. I don't want to be on TV. I just want water.
Yeah, I don't know about everybody else, but the entire race was kind of funny for me to watch. These poor European boys struggle in this heat. And it's like, you guys race in the desert half the time. And they just were completely unprepared. I don't know. It was just the best thing I think I have ever seen.
The only difference is Miami is a humid heat. The desert is a dry heat. And anyone who knows humidity knows that there's no cooling down. You just feel hotter and sticky. And I do feel bad for them, especially because those cars get really hot in general with the engines right there.
Yeah, Florida heat definitely hits different. It's almost like a Singapore heat, if you will. And we all know how grueling Singapore is from those videos.
Yeah, and I don't know if y'all know this, but Miami and Florida in general is very iconic for it to rain every day for like 30 minutes to an hour. So if you're not prepared for that as well, it could ruin a day and or ruin kind of your attire, because in the morning it could be one way and then as soon as it rains, different, just different. Yeah, and we can't leave without talking about all things Miami predictions, what to expect, and kind of our thoughts going into the upcoming race this weekend. So as you know, I'm a McLaren girly full through and through. Lando mentioned post Baku, if y'all don't know, that his car is more structured to the Miami circuit. And with them finally earning points for the first time this year and with the upgrades, could we potentially see them on podium? That would be amazing, because the higher up, the better off. I would love that. And then, yeah, and I don't know how y'all feel, but we'll probably see another Red Bull 1-2. Or my hope is we will see a change for the first time this season from Ferrari or Aston Martin. And Drea, what are your thoughts?
I don't know about y'all, but personally, I would love to hear Lando's podium song McLaren Garage sings afterwards. We only got to see once last year when he got third, but I would love to see Lando, you just got a podium, and the video with it. It would be so great. Everything else I'm keeping open, who knows, because Max is only 6 points ahead of Checo, so there still is a little bit of leeway if somebody else can hop in. Maybe fastest lap might.
Yeah, and I don't know about you, but would love to see a fighting challenge, to be honest, going into the Miami GP and or just the rest of the season, to be honest. We've seen a lot of contenders kind of come forward, but nobody who has really been able to challenge Red Bull full through and through, which is unbelievable to imagine.
Yeah, I would love to see somebody else come with some upgrades to their car that actually can challenge Red Bull with some straight line speed, because it kind of just seems like nobody can touch their pace. And even as a Red Bull fan, I really just want to see some good old-fashioned racing again.
Yeah, I know I saw a couple of people saying on like TikTok that Baku isn't really where we were going to see the upgrades kind of come into effect. It's going to be Miami and the subsequent races, because Baku is a pretty, I don't want to say it's a pretty basic circuit, but it's not as different as some of the other ones. And with Miami still being pretty new, I mean, this is the only the second race. So it'll definitely be interesting to see where those upgrades come into play.
I totally agree, Rach. I mean, I heard the same thing. I think I saw a TikTok, it was this morning, that said Baku is very much a unicorn circuit, that it doesn't really compare to any other circuits, and that's why we won't see any improvements in Baku, but we would have to wait for Miami to truly see. And I mean, honestly, that's why I hope for a non-Red Bull 1-2, or even the top two steps, maybe one Red Bull and someone else. But if I were a betting lady, I would still bet on my Red Bull 1-2, even though I want the midfield to bring their A game.
Yeah, and for a lot of drivers on the circuit this year that I knew, this will be the first time that they've ever been on this track. So that should also be pretty exciting to see some of the newcomers experience it, because when they were in F2 or F3, they didn't race that circuit either.
I'm really excited to see how the rookies on this track. I'm intrigued to see how De Vries does in particular. I've always been a fan of him. He was in Formula E. I am a Nick girl a little bit. And I'm really hoping that he can hook up a decent performance this weekend. I'm really also intrigued to see how Logan does as a hometown boy.
I was going to say the same thing. I'm really interested to see how our All-American boy Logan does. He just had a GQ article come out today that we're recording this, where he said it's been a while since he's raced in the States. I mean, he's been racing mostly over in Europe for the past few years. So I'm interested to see how he does. I mean, it's technically home territory for him, but it's still been a while.
I feel because, as Amy said, especially the rookies never race there, but because it's only the second time that anyone's raced there, they're all kind of rookies. So, as I said before, I feel like all eyes, especially mine, will be on the midfield because I feel like the top 4 teams or top 3 teams kind of have it on lock, as Alex Albon said in Baku for the sprint. And especially, I feel like I wanted Alpine because like their first 2 races, especially Pierre's, were great. And then it all went downhill. So what happened? Can they turn it around? Can they not turn it around? Is it the switching to the blue livery that it was what cursed them? Who knows?
Maybe, but I say with it being the second race other than Las Vegas, nobody really knows how to figure it out. They had 1 weekend last year. That's it. So I think it will level out the playing field a little bit. And it being so close to the start of the season, we could see a lot more contenders move up.
I don't know about y'all, but I think that Miami is going to be the track for at least a few years that is the anything goes kind of race. It's just going to kind of be chaotic for at least a few more years. I'm not expecting much consistency compared to last year. I'm not really that's not something I predict.
Yeah, and with them having to resurface the track this year and probably going to have to do it every year going forward since it's not a main track, it's a street track that they main. I wonder if they're going to have a little bit of a learning curve going into each one because who knows if the consistency will stay the same.
I'm attending the race, so I don't want to jinx it. So I'm not going to say my predictions, but I have Melissa's predictions here, actually, that I'm going to read to you all. So Melissa is most likely expecting a Red Bull 1-2 with a Ferrari in third. Will it be Charles or Carlos? We don't know. She's hoping for something new, however, so we can have a change from the usual Red Bull winnings. Maybe a double Ferrari podium with Fernando up there. The girl's hopeful. And last but not least, Logan finally in points. I would love to see our Florida man get his first points at his home race. I think I agree with her, but I also allegedly can't say because I don't want to jinx.
I agree with her. I think it would be really sweet to see Logan get his first points in F1 at his home race. I feel like that would be really precious.
I can tell you if he does, I will be crying in the stands because that shit makes me emotional. Craig, bleep that.
I mean, honestly, it would be so iconic. I mean, last year's Miami race was already iconic. Will this year do it again with Logan in the points for the first time and some other stuff like the football helmets? I don't know.
Anything but the football helmets, please.
Sorry, they have thick necks like the football players. Totally understand that. They might have thought they would look good with the helmets because of that aspect, but then when you take the whole picture and they're on the podium, they just look like bobbleheads because F1 drivers have to stay thin to fit in the car and not go overweight.
Oh, it was so awkward. It was terrible. I looked at those photos and I was like, please don't ever do this again.
I mean, you know, I know they do cowboy hats for the Austin GP, as they should because it's Texas, and I thought those were a little like out there, but the helmets was a whole other level of just like, it's a good idea in theory.
I mean, they did when Sochi was still a thing. They did the Russian like bear hats or whatever you call them. I can't remember the English word for them, but I feel like yes, they want to lean into the whole local culture kind of thing, but it's definitely it's funny. Let's put it that way. Did it work? No, but it was funny.
I think what they should do to replace the football helmets is give us some bucket hats. I want a Pirelli bucket hat. You don't even understand.
No, not bucket hats,
Yes.
visors.
Yes.
The visors. The visors with the fanny pack or sunglasses. Yes, typical Florida person. Next day, going to Disney. It would fit the vibe so good.
Instead of the helmets, instead of the bucket hats, Mickey Mouse ears.
Yes,
Yes.
please. Yes. Yes.
Can't get more Florida than that.
Yes, and give the podium placers, not just the winner, next day passes to Disney because it's a break, so they can totally go.
What is this? The Super Bowl?
Yes.
Yes.
I would love to see some of the drivers go to Disney World immediately after the GP. It's right there. They might as well. I can imagine Lando on Space Mountain just having the time of his life with everyone else just like I can see it. It would be incredible.
You know, that's funny because after Abu Dhabi, when they win the world championship, they don't do any celebrations. It would be cool to see some type of celebration.
I mean, if anybody is going to go Disney after Miami, we all know that it is Esteban Ocon and Mick Schumacher because those two are absolutely Disney kids, and I love every second of it.
Also, I kind of want to see Carlos and Lando at Disney. Lando losing his shit because he's a child at heart, and Carlos just walking behind him, losing his mind and thinking, why the hell am I here?
You know that Esteban would be wherever Spider-Man is, for sure. I think that would be adorable, and I feel like Valtteri would just be drinking around the world at Epcot.
Same.
Universal is across the street, so they could hop over there for Spider-Man stuff.
Maybe invite Kimmy. Who knows?
I don't know if y'all remember, but he was gifted by Danny Rick for Christmas last year the Spider-Man set, and that was iconic. His love for it was shown right there, and the fact that Danny was willing to spend that much money to get him something so special was amazing. That was amazing.
But we all know if anybody is going to go full send on a Christmas gift, it is most definitely Daniel Ricciardo.
That's because Danny loves everyone and gets to know their personalities great. But on a side note, to get back to our predictions, this is from Casey. She couldn't be here tonight. So she predicts that Red Bull will have a 1-2. But again, Miami is a street circuit. So Checo's success could continue from a race, right? Because that's also a street circuit and he's king of the street circuits. Would love to see another Aston Martin podium. Let's go, Alonso. But honestly, anyone new to the podium this year would be great to see. As we mentioned before, Miami kind of is a free-for-all. Williams have been looking great this year, so Alex or Logan can get some points for home race and home state.
All right, now you guys know I am a Red Bull girl, so I would definitely love to see at least one bull on the podium, but I really do want some variety. I'd like a little spice in my life, whether that's Carlos Sainz on the podium or maybe even a Lewis Hamilton P1 just for old time's sake. I mean, as everybody else has said, Williams has been looking really, really good this year so far. And I would definitely not complain about seeing Logan get some points at his home race. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm also really excited to see who they have for some guest announcers. Are we going to get some Hinchcliffe content? Are we going to get Brunzel in the water again? We don't know.
You know, you bring up a great topic. We haven't even brought up Lewis or George at all during this prediction. And I'm wondering, knowing Princess Georgie as he is, if he will cause another hole in somebody's car.
I don't know about you guys, but I like to refer to George as 007. He's kind of like an assassin and a spy. He just like randomly will take you out. Consistently, out of nowhere, all of a sudden, here comes George Russell.
And he's got the Britishness, the politeness, the way he dresses. I mean, he's got it all for 007.
Facts. And that man doesn't even swear. Remember when he got told in qualifying in Baku that he dropped from P10 to P11 and was out Q1? He said, sure, to have the fortitude to do that. And when adrenaline's pumping, damn.
I don't think I've ever seen that man swear. I don't think he's ever sworn on a radio or anything. He is the pinnacle of British politeness.
He is more prone to walk away from you than he is to be confrontational in any form of fashion. Gotta love it. You gotta love it, because we all know that there are some very confrontational guys on the grid. Love them. But it's nice to see George is a little bit polite.
I think it's his Capricorn sun.
It could be, but George did finish 5th last year in Miami, and Lewis finished 6th, so we could see them competing to see which team orders will be called, or if they just get to let them race.
You know, one person who did really well in Baku, who we could see do pretty good in Miami? Alex Albon. That would be somebody interesting this coming up on the grid. I would love that.
I love, not that I can say anything because I don't want it to get jinxed, but I would love to see Yuki get a little bit more points this weekend. That's just me. Allegedly.
I mean, honestly, with Alex's golf ball helmet that he just released earlier today, I really want to see him in the points, because so far, that has been my favorite special helmet for Miami, especially with the promo video that they put out with Lily. And Lily hit, like, taking a golf swing at his head. Chef's kiss.
If we get Alex Albon in some major points, I think I might actually cry. I do have to agree with Ito. That helmet that he has come up with for this weekend is absolute perfection, and I really, really want him to keep it for at least a few weeks, because it is chef's kiss perfect. And I just can't, like, that man is so in love with his girl that he is going to make a golf ball inspired helmet just for her. Like, perfect.
No, it is the cutest thing ever. But I mean, how could you not be in love with Lily? How could you not?
Yeah, and I agree with the Alex and the golf ball. Hopefully it sticks around a tad bit longer after the Miami. But yeah, but I don't know about y'all. Some liveries that have come out for the Miami GP have been absolutely amazing. The designs have been killer to see so far, and I'm excited to see what comes this weekend.
I always want for our special edition stuff, and the fact that they did a baseball one, if it is not for sale at a pop-up, I'll fight. Not really.
I don't know if anybody else has seen the Red Bull livery that they did for Miami, but compared to all of the options that they've shown, I'm honestly a little disappointed. I was expecting a little bit more Miami from that livery, and it's just not quite what I was hoping for. I was really expecting a little bit more from that.
All right, now the predictions are over. We have Chelsea here for the special little surprise. Chelsea, take it away. Tell them what you did today.
Hey everyone. So yeah, I'm jumping on late today, but it's because I was a little busy. Williams was holding a event today. They're holding one all week in Miami, and you can visit them near Miami Beach. They're holding a pop-up shop with a bit of a twist. Today they were hosting Alex and Logan Sargent for Q&As, meet and greets, and if you were lucky, you got a little signature, a little autograph. So I got to join that today, and it was honestly a really great time. I got to meet Logan Sargent. He was a pretty cool guy, to be honest. I really loved seeing him interact with the fans, especially the young kids. You can tell that there's a lot of people from Florida that are just obsessed with the fact that we have someone in Formula One. They're like, are the Florida man driver. You have to win it this weekend. And I think it was really nice seeing how many people trying to come out and support him, because the place was pretty packed. And one of the other people there supporting them, which was so cool to meet, was a Williams sponsor named Duracell. So if you guys don't know, Duracel's the battery. They're a sponsor for Williams, and their social media is honestly really So when I got to the event, I had a really good luck. I got to meet a couple of their marketing members. Shout out to them because I did a video with them. So catch me on their social media, hopefully. And it was so cool to meet someone that goes behind the scenes and talks with drivers, and they just have such a cool career, I think. It was really fun meeting them. I found out they are listeners of the Paddock Girls. They listen to our podcast, so shout out to you guys. I'm happy you're listening. And yeah, Duracell, if you guys make a podcast, I mean, we'll listen to you guys too. We'll be your number one listener. But if you are attending the Miami Grand Prix, they will be there all weekend until Sunday. It's a completely free event, and they also are offering open bar for beer, just beer. Letting you guys know that because they are being sponsored by a company. So go down, you guys. They have this race simulators. I sucked at that. Do not ever put me in one of those cars. And they also have another driver going out tomorrow, and they will have some more giveaways that you guys can sign up for. I believe you can even sign up on the app. I'm not trying to be like a Williams sponsor right now. I just learned all of this, and I figured if you're a listener, you probably want to know too. But it was a great event, and I'm so happy. That is, I think, going to be the spotlight of our week, if I'm being honest. Oh, and thanks again, Logan, for the signature. Really nice. I was cut off by the line. He still gave me the signature.
And yes, the Williams event was our moment of the week, but our other little fun thing that we love this week, we're going to do a driver of the week as well. Surprise. And that driver of the week is Charles. You want to know why? Because he saved his AirPods and he announced new music all in one post practically. So you know what, Charles? We adore you. We can't wait for the new song. That's it. Okay. Anyways, so that wraps up our Miami predictions. As always, keep up with us on socials. Paddock Girl Podcast on everything except for Twitter. She's a little special. She gets Paddock Girls Pod. And just a little reminder for you, keep an eye out for our TikTok and Instagram because Chelsea, our lovely Megan, and myself are going to be in Miami. You might see some extra fun stuff on Saturday with the besties. Thanks for joining us in the paddock. See you at the race. Nailed it, Craig. Wrap
Bye,
it.
Craig.
Bye, Craig.
Bye, Craig.